So we have two amazing speakers here. Michaela is the Chief Marketing Officer at LevelPath. She is a technology marketing executive known for scaling both startups and established corporations. I've known her through a couple of amazing roles, both with Eversort, Scout RFP, Workday, and obviously now with LevelPath. She excels in go-to-market strategies, demand generation, product marketing, having driven successful numerous Bay Area startups. She seems to know a lot of people, and she just has a mind that I don't ever think turns off. It's just go, go, go all the time. Definitely a good one to connect with. LevelPath is an active member of SIG. They're constantly sponsoring our virtual events, our in-person events. They're going to be speaking at our Nashville Summit. Definitely a good person to be connected with. And then we also have Rachel from SSM Health. She's the Director of Sourcing Operations. They're going to be tag teaming this webinar today. She is the Director of Sourcing Operations with over a decade of healthcare supply chain and analytics experience. Since 2018, she has advanced at SSM Health, creating and optimizing supply chain process and implementing sourcing initiatives. Now, ladies, you are just impressive. Your bios are so great. We're excited to have you here today, and I am passing the virtual batons over to you. For folks who have just now entered, please go to that chat feature, drop your LinkedIn link. I see people are following my request, so good job. We'd love to see who you are, what you do. It helps us when you ask questions because we can have some background into what you do. And then submit your questions through the Q&A feature. So that helps us track where the questions come from. So I'm going to repeat that again. Put your questions through the Q&A so they don't get mixed up with the chat. And we're going to do our best to get to all of the questions by the conclusion. But I know that if we run out of time, I'm sure we'll get to them offline. So ladies, please take it away.
So thank you for joining us today, and we'll move forward. There's Rachel and I, a little bit about Rachel, and I apologize if you guys have seen these already. So just kind of go through here and start with the LevelPath journey. So LevelPath, our founders have collaborated for more than 20 years together. And many of you may know Scout RFP, but the founders first revolutionized restaurant technology with online ordering that company was acquired by Living Social. But in the process of building that company, they experienced what many of us experience with inefficiencies in procurement. And as they struggled with building manual RFPs and juggled emails in Excel, they came up with an idea to build Scout RFP. And it was a simple one-page RFP product. And they went out and talked to some procurement professionals, about 200 of them, to see if this was a problem that other people faced. And for some of you who have had experience with Scout RFP, that's how the company itself was born. And that's how I got involved with them. And that's where I met them over the years, and how I met SIG as well. And then as Scout grew, by 2019, we had about 300 global customers, and we were acquired by Workday Strategic Sourcing, or Workday, and then they changed our name to Workday Strategic Sourcing. And so through that journey, the team really learned more about building a larger platform, enterprise grade, end-to-end supply chain, the whole parts and pieces of it, and what it really took to stay abreast of that. And upon looking at all of that, really understood that the supplier area of procurement was really underserved, and that there was a missing supplier system of record. That there's CRMs like Salesforce that have the customer system of record, there's financial systems of record, there's HR systems of record, but no one has seemed to sort of unplug the supplier system of record. So that was the birth of LevelPath, which we're here today to talk about. So it was a market shift, and the timing was really just fortuitous that the birth of really usable AI. I mean, AI, machine learning, has been around for quite some time, but as we all know, once the chat GPT sort of launched out there in the world, it was just more accessible for everyone, and really was doing the things that we wanted to see it see it do. Where often some of the large language models and the machine learning wasn't giving us the promise of what we were hoping AI would do. So as we looked at building Level Path, we were looking at building a best-in-class solution that would take all the data in for procurement on one platform, making it easier for AI to do the work that it needs to do. And as I shared, with the rise of OpenAI and GPT, a need for centralized intelligent platforms really became clear because you wanted all your data in one location. So AI allows you to unify the data systems insights and will drive 40% efficiency at minimum in your search for completing tasks and doing things. But in enterprise procurement, true impact comes from purpose-built AI. It's not just isolated tools. AI can increase savings, it can enhance team capabilities, and it really honestly can future-proof your procurement. At Level Path, we simplify procurement by unifying the data and making AI practical, turning complexity into efficiency. Our three pillars of AI-powered procurement are our unified data model, which thrives on interconnected data, unlike legacy systems, which have fragmented data and are grabbing information possibly from one place, but not from another. Level Path is built around a supplier-centric architecture, making it the single source of truth for procurement and for the business. Our LLM orchestration, right? It's a large language model, is our proprietary Hyperbridge technology and reasoning engine, which integrates multiple large language models and optimizes searches and predictions for faster and more accurate insights. Couple that with our co-pilots and soon to be released agents, it really simplifies and makes procurement easier. And then lastly, we have a multi-interface accessibility. So as you can see in the picture, it is available on mobile and it's mobile first. So let's look at it. Like the complexity of buying is getting harder and harder as time goes on. There's more suppliers, and the topic that was just started at the beginning of this session was looking at tariffs, right? So how is that even going to affect procurement? So as procurement continues to face challenges, and procurement always will, and they will always solve them because you guys are amazing. And nowadays, with 6 to 8 decision makers per purchase, coordination is difficult. People are in different locations. It's extending timelines. Sometimes it's critical to just make that decision, and it complicates enterprise buying. Worse is that 60% of employees do not use the company's internet systems, and so there's just a major disconnect between complex policies, too many channels, lack of supplier data, and inefficient systems. Level Path's AI platform simplifies procurement by unifying all the processes because all the data is within it, consolidates channels, enriches supplier data, and advances the user experience. The result, it really is delightful procurement. That really is the result. So our point of view is really looking at that procurement should be simple, unified, and fully supported. Our approach is built on 3 core principles, which is the power of simplicity, the end-to-end suite, and white glove service. By combining all of these, a seamless platform and exceptional service, Level Path enables you to unlock new opportunities for efficiency and growth. And then the big heavy slide. So the challenges in procurement transformation. I probably don't even need to tell you what the challenges are because we've all lived any procurement transformation or just plain software transformation. So there's always organizational barriers. There's always operational challenges. There's always strategic obstacles and technology and data management. But at Level Path, we eliminate these roadblocks with AI-powered solutions and proven systems for seamless impact transformation. But you don't need to hear that from me. That's why we have a guest on here that's a customer of ours. So at Level Path, our journey began with a bold vision to refine procurement and make it smarter, easier, and more delightful. But the real test of this is seeing customers thrive and grow. And so I am thrilled to have Rachel dive into SSM Health's health story and how they embraced procurement, innovation, and navigated internal adoption. She really was the driving champion for this process. She has done so much at SM Health and has done it so quickly. I can't wait for her to get on. And so take it away.
Thanks, Michaela. Truly, truly flattered with everything that you said. I think I have control of the slides. There we go. I'm not the best at technology sometimes. But SSM Health. So kind of overall, we are a non-for-profit healthcare system in the US. We're mostly based in the Midwest, across 4 states. So Oklahoma, Missouri, Southern Illinois, and then heavy in Wisconsin as well. We have about 40,000 team members, and for our sourcing department, those really are our customers. We really do serve every single person in SSM as a shared service. We have 23 hospitals, post-acute sites. We have managed affiliate hospitals. We also have our own health insurance plan where we cover about 500,000 lives. And then we also have very strategic partnerships in our pharmacy space. So to put that even into perspective, just for our sourcing and procurement team, we manage on an annual basis over $4.6 billion in spend that comes through our team. It's really divided into 3 categories. So medical supplies, pharmacy, and then purchase services, or indirect spend as we sometimes call it. But for SSM, our sourcing and contract management team, they don't have all contracts underneath their scope. We do have some exclusions, utilities, payers, affiliates, employment and government agencies. We partner with our legal and transactions practice group to really help manage our entire contract portfolio and when we look at everything across the organization. But for sourcing in particular, we manage about 4,500 contracts. We do have a GPO, a group purchasing organization partner. We are partners with Vizient and leverage some of their contracts. And then for ongoing management, we receive about 250 requests on average any given month for some sort of contracting activity, whether that's ranging from looking at a medical equipment quote or procuring a quote in medical equipment purchase, or getting a new item onto contract, or even looking at strategic categories and seeing if we need to go to market and what that looks like. And so with that, we really had this journey of trying to get, there it goes, of trying to find a system that will help. So I know really this is our journey of getting that organizational buy-in. But before we could even get that buy-in, we really had to examine what was the right system for SSM. So prior to looking at LevelPath, we were actually starting to implement a different system. And with that, we started going down the road and said, hold up, this is not going to work for us. It had some holes in it. We really worked with our master data management team, looked at everything from the requester point of view, and had to put together really a business case on why that system was not going to be right for us. So walked through those motions, had all of our leaders agree that, you know what, you are correct. That is not going to work, that it could potentially cause some problems with our requesters. So we switched, we found LevelPath. We were up against a timeline because we did have an incumbent solution and our contract was about to expire. So making sure that I secure that organizational buy-in as quickly and effectively and efficiently as possible was huge for us. So we really did try to focus on the requesters. So our requesters are anyone in the organization who would need some sort of contracting action to take place. They need a different item. There's a doctor in the OR that wants to trial a product. We have a back order and we need a substitute product that is not on contract currently. Kind of everywhere in between those, we wanted to focus on our requesters. We had about 4 to 5 months to really get LevelPath up and running. But in order for our leaders to really say, yes, let's move forward with LevelPath, I really had to spin the capabilities and put it into perspective. So what is our leadership concerned with? Well, across the organization, can we actually have the buy-in from all points of contact. As Michaela mentioned, it's not just one person making a procurement decision anymore. It's 6 to 7 people. How can we have that communication? Does Level Path do that for us? Did our incumbent solution have that? So really creating this grid to show, hey, this is what we had, this is what we will have, and this is what is coming in procurement really kind of helps set the stage. And then also changing my communication styles depending on the group that I had to present to. If I was presenting to our master data management, I said, what is important to you all? And let's really change our words and change what is important. How are you doing your job? Our sourcing team really acts as those gatekeepers for all of the other processes that go into procurement. So how can we spin it with all of these groups? How can we make them see that this is the right solution for us? So I did have to go through multiple communication channels, but once we did sign with Level Path and said we are all in, we had about 4 months to do that. So very short time frame. I also am a small team of 1. So trying to get this all taken care of and making sure that we switch everything was a big task, but not impossible. So I really did focus on our requesters. What is that change going to look like? This is massive change management going from a well-known system that we've had for 4 years over to a new system that has new capabilities and a new look and feel. While at the end, it may be easier for our requesters, there is going to be that change management. So really I utilized multiple communication strategies with our requesters. I was upfront and honest. I sent out a ton of emails letting them know the change was coming well before the change. I set the stage and said, what is actually going to transition with this? What is not going to transition? What is it going to look like? I also had to focus on different learning styles. Not everyone learns the same. So how to make sure that if you learned by reading and you were someone who needs something to go back and review, I had that taken care of. I provided demos, got on one-on-one. We had open mic calls scheduled. So just making sure we really utilize all of those communication channels that we have available to us to really have that requester communication so that the requesters knew I'm still taken care of, sourcing will still be there, we will still support. And really that open dialogue for questions. My name was plastered absolutely everywhere. There was no question that couldn't be answered. We may not have had a great answer for it, but come and ask us, let us know. I was available by many means for most of our requesters. And then just those expectations. What will this actually look like? Are we transferring old requests from our system that are still open? Are we not? Really setting out exactly in very clear words what they would expect to see helped bring everyone into the same fold. And really that transparency in that change management process. So why were we actually changing? Is it just because our contract was up with our incumbent solution? Or what is the benefit of changing? For us, it really was that request status. With procurement becoming more and more complex and more sub-processes, it's that overall flow and level path where we did have visibility into the entire process right there in one screen. Historically, people would submit their request and then have a ton of follow-up questions. Where is this? Has this group looked at it? Has this group not looked at it? Who needs to look at it next? Level Path does that automatically. It is fantastic. It is one of the biggest drivers of our satisfaction for our requesters currently. So I really did focus on the requester satisfaction and ease of use. Our sourcing team knew that up front as well. So I told them we we're going to have our requesters taken care of, and then we will slowly start to change what we're doing once we have the system up and running. So I did kind of have to take that, iterative approach and set those realistic expectations. As a team of 1, I can't do everything that I would do if I had a 2-year implementation time. So really coming up with a phased approach system, which I'll talk about in a minute, and then really accepted those short-term challenges, knew that we were going to have some challenges, knew that we would have to make some concessions and have some cleanup later. But that was okay because it's on our way to meet our long-term goals. There it goes. So really, again, that phased implementation approach. So my phase 1 was really up and running. I need to figure out what I need to bring over to make this up and running. And then we're going to focus on our external teams. With the ability to pull in external to sourcing teams right within Level Path, within the program itself, I knew that needed to be a focus, but it couldn't be our first focus. Making sure that we had the ability to go in and have our requesters request any item that they needed, any contract they needed, get an answer, be able to really focus on that change management we had to bucket this work. So I'm currently in phase 2 of working with our external teams to start to bring them into the fold so that we can start to say, LevelPath has this amazing capability that we haven't had before. What does that look like? And have that communication plan. So those supply chain specific trainings, I worked with our sourcing team. I brought them along for this ride. I got them into the sandbox. I let them play with it. I revamped as necessary along the way. I would have the sourcing team go in and say, give me a real life example. You walk through it for me. You tell me what your pain points are and you write those down and let's review those. So I would actually revamp as I went, as we started to learn more about any of the capabilities within the tool itself. And then redefining our fields. So some of our fields we didn't need. So taking a look and right sizing them. Are we utilizing all of our fields that we currently ask for? Are we having unnecessary administrative work that we don't need? So really seeing what provided value either to our metrics, to our KPIs, or to the sourcing team, and figured out what didn't. Where could we standardize fields? Instead of a free text, could we have a drop down so we could start running great reports on some of our data? So really looking at what we are capturing, when we are capturing, and where we are capturing our data was really necessary as well. And that will be kind of lumped into my phase 3 when I need to go through and start to clean up some of the data that we brought over. But it really has been a game changer for our requesters. I hear on a daily basis, it's intuitive, it's great, easy to navigate, it provides a transparency. There are still requests that get stuck in the process. We still have requesters that have to reach out and say, where is this in process? And that's all a learning curve. Did we not click the button right? Do we need to build out additional processes within our overall contracting flow? So it's an ever evolving really process and working with our requesters, gathering their feedback. I worked with our requesters to actually build the request forms. I went out and did a quick Q&A of some of our large volume users for our requests and said, what's working well? What do you like about our current process? What don't you like about our process? And started to change that as we were implementing to make sure that any of their pain points we took to heart. We said, great, you guys are struggling with this and we may have not known. Let's go back and reevaluate what we're asking, why we're asking, and when we're asking. And this has led to us actually achieving some great success. So really communication was key. Being able to have that early and consistent communication, almost over communicating, and just allowing folks that if they missed one email, they weren't out of the loop, that we recorded a bunch of our demos, that we're still telling our story in sourcing and being able to pull in all of our requesters underneath one platform and really taking that hands-on approach. I am a team of one. I had to learn how LevelPath operated and functioned, but allow for changes to happen in real time to manage issues. Issues are going to come up, and they did come up really no matter how hard I worked and how hard I prepared to make sure that they didn't. They're going to come up, and it is okay. And we took them day by day and said, what is the priority of this issue? What is the crux of this issue? That we're not getting our data? Do we need to add an additional field into our request form? What does this issue look like and where is it stemming from and what are we actually trying to solve? And then we actually allowed for a bunch of short-term problems. We knew due to our time frame, we could import all of our contracts, but we would not have all of our metadata perfectly clean. Perfectly okay with that. We know a solution is coming with their great OCR technology. We've actually seen some of that where we've been able to clean up as we go. Also allowing for changes that we knew were coming with LevelPath. With them being more of a startup, there's a bunch of updates that are coming that are great. We knew that when we entered into the contract, we knew what their roadmap looked like. So we planned for that solution that was coming. It's the short-term pain for long-term gain. But I had to convince our sourcing team that, yes, I know right now we might be doing duplicative work where it's not the simplest, but we are going to change. We've had some major changes already into the system that sourcing has been like, yes, I understand. We had that short-term pain, but now it is much better. It is long-term focus that we're looking at. And then also we had to consider where we want to be versus where we were. With the additional capabilities, how do we want to progress the organization? How do we want to make sure that we're continuing to grow? If we take a look back 5 years ago, our supply chain had a very narrow scope. We didn't manage too much centrally. We really weren't that true centralized function. we have grown significantly over the years and we want to continue to grow. So we knew that some changes could not happen right away, but we wanted to start laying the groundwork to ensure that we could really continue to progress and change as the organization changed. And so trying to look at what was coming. Are we having more clinical groups forming? Can we lay the groundwork for that? Can we build in some placeholders so that we know that we need a process here? It may not be fully built out. It's a placeholder for now. We can skip it, but it's there so that folks are aware within our overall procurement process that it's more than just here, sign this contract. I'm sure as all of us get, lots of folks love to do that. It's more than that. So we wanted to make sure that we really considered where we were and where we wanted to be. And then we also had to look outside of sourcing. Were there any short-term problems I could fix? For SSM, part of that was our master data management. So really looking at, can we get an item add in our ERP system? Right now, that is through email. We are all one supply chain team. So can we act as one supply chain team and put it into one request platform? So working with our master data management team to solve some of that frustration didn't relate to sourcing, but it was a frustration around supply chain that we could solve very quickly with this new tool. So really looking and broadening our scope a little bit to just have our requesters have the easiest time getting to where they need to go, regardless of whether it was in supply chain, was very important for us. And again, switching systems, it's never perfect. It was not perfect. We are still finding, some issues that come up, whether I didn't think something through or, hey, this data isn't looking quite right. Well, that's okay. We will fix it. We can fix it, which is great. We still have every single point of data that we need. It may just not be in the right format. So we need to go change it. But really, we focused on our requesters for a reason, making sure that the large breadth of our customers, so internally, so potentially 40,000 associates, making sure they had the ease of transition. Our team of about 20 sourcing folks, they can get through it. We talked, we made sure we made the decision collectively that we were going to focus on the requesters because that is where we could hear the most uproar. So really having that ease of use made all the difference for SSM. And I wanted to leave a bunch of time for questions as well.
Wonderful. Thank you, ladies, so much. All right, folks, I see one question in the Q&A and folks, we have time for more questions. Oh, another question just popped in. All right. Are you ready?
Yes, we are.
Okay. What strategies did you employ to secure leadership buy-in, and what were your key elements of your business cases that resonated with executives?
So for us, I had to change my communication style to fit the group. So I had a few different leaders that I had to have buy-in from. So if I looked at our internal sourcing leaders, focusing on what they wanted to know, how are they going to be able to see the work? So making sure that I kind of changed kind of the overall structure to those different communication styles. I am lucky I've been at SSM for a while, that I know these leaders well and I know kind of how they process their thoughts. But then looking at our ELT, our executive leaders, this is a major change for our organization. So we will have to get their buy-in as well. So really putting it into the overall organization and how it's going to benefit not just sourcing, but the entire organization. And then I always related it back to our current state. We did have an incumbent solution that was working fine. But what really improvements could we make upon that solution if we changed, when we changed? What will that look like? How will that benefit our organization? But I used very clear visual cues. So I actually put a grid together to show here's some of our wishes. Here's our basic functions that we need, grouped them together and did a red, yellow, green dot chart. So with our incumbent solution versus level path, so that our leaders could easily see across the board, will we have this? Will we not have this? Are we losing any functionality as well? And just did very plain simple, put my recommendation up top, didn't try to sugarcoat it. My recommendation was we move to level path, and I put that in one sentence and then did my explanation below that. So making sure that we can, be very clear and deliberate with our words and just have someone be able to look at something I know exactly what they're trying to convey was really important for us.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Good visual. All right, ladies, there's a few questions in the chat. So, McKay, if you want to look at those, and then I'm going to read one that's also in the, Q&A chat, and then I'm going to look in the other features. So, did you guys see a noticeable difference in waiting to clean up the data until after you went live versus doing the data clean up when you go live?
Yes and no. There were a few things we definitely cleaned up beforehand. So contract types. So we actually built out better contract types with Level Path. The way that we are able to have the contract repository linked together made more sense than what we currently had. So in our old system, we just really had a contract. And then we had a sub field where people could pick, but it wasn't really classified. So going through like classifying the types of contracts that we had was part of our cleanup. Our categories for our contracts. We had an open text field in our incumbent solution. If you take elevators, whether it's preventative maintenance, the actual contract for building an elevator, we had about 16 different elevator categories because it was free text. Some people put elevator, some people put elevators, some people put preventative maintenance elevators. So trying to look at what we can clean up quickly, that was not going to be a quick clean for us. So that's something that we waited until we still have all of that information. Level Path was great. They took a look at all of the information we had in our incumbent solution, said, what can we easily map? So getting that list and really working with Level Path in order to say, what is easy to fix now versus what can wait? What reports am I asked for on a monthly basis? What do I need to solve for now versus what is lower priority? So just really collaborating. But it is a slow cleanup, as everyone knows. If you have a ton of contract records and changing contract structure type, it's slow, which is fine. We still have all the data. We can still access everything. It's just not as perfectly clean as we want, but that is a-okay.
Great, thank
And
you.
I would,
As you were talking, go ahead, Michaela.
Oh, I would add on that. With AI, and as Level Path grows separately, right? But in both cases, AI, when you use OCR, can pull out that information for you. So in the past, a lot of the challenges when you're trying to get information, you can get that information so much faster and organized so much better now with systems. So by grabbing your old contracts, putting them into the system, letting the system read everything, and then categorize on the words that are already there, make it much easier to search through because you don't have a person either fat fingering it or, as you say, choosing elevator, elevators, whatever the terms are. Additionally, we have in our product, we have the co-pilots, which allow you to dig into the data, but we have the Hyperbridge product that's a reasoning engine that sits underneath. And so it enriches your suppliers. It does a lot of different things that you wouldn't not have, and you might think you need to do before you start. And you don't necessarily need to do that because the data that it can grab and clean for you will put tags and such on it so that you don't have to worry about that. Like it makes that transition faster. And sometimes you think you have to organize more, but the AI can help you do it faster and honestly better probably than we could naturally.
It almost
And
makes it delightful.
Yes.
I had to say
and
it.
We've seen that. I mean, it's the AI behind the scenes, the OCR technologies and capabilities. I hear from our sourcing team, I don't have to spend as much time doing some of this administrative work. While it's important administrative work, it still is time consuming. And when we're talking about 4,500 contracts that our team of 20 is managing, sometimes that's a lot of admin work that really saves up, or they save it until the very end and get frustrated by it. So we have seen that 100%. We love the AI capabilities and we are utilizing it every day.
Great, thank you. As you were answering this last question, several more questions came in. So this is great, folks. Keep them coming. And even as we get closer to the end of time, keep submitting them, because even if we don't get through them to the end of time, oh, another one. I can't even get my words out. This is great. Okay. Next one. How is AI used and how does it help? Is it a chat box for the request, or is it functionality that is behind the scenes?
I'll take that first,
Yes.
and then you can jump in. It's both. So we have, as I shared, a thing called Hyperbridge, and it's under the covers, and it's a reasoning engine, and it brings sort of the best of all different AIs together and helps with your supplier enrichment and all other different areas under the covers of the product. So meaning OCR, bringing the contracts in, really understanding what is in there. As you add new documents, being a user myself of the product in marketing, and I'm a stakeholder user, I am now more enthusiastic about putting my data in there. So like when I get an invoice, I know if I put it in, then I can search against it. Whereas I will confess that I was terrible and would just, leave it in an email or something. And then, it really wasn't workable overall. But now I am enthusiastic about it, not because we're selling the product, but because I gain more by having that data in there. I can see, we're doing work with SIG. I can go in and look at the SIG contracts, see everything, ask it questions and see everything. So the second half of that question talks about, we have co-pilots that allow you to ask questions. We have co-pilots that allow you, if you're going to build a sourcing bid, that would allow you to build the questions and then put the questions into the bid. So it vastly simplifies things that allow you to do, like, there's so many things you have to do in procurement. It's crazy, right? And so this just takes the work that no one likes to do and makes it easier.
Yeah, and we've utilized the AI and we like it. We're still getting the hang of it because we didn't have it in our incumbent solution. So it's been a slow adoption. But now that folks are seeing kind of the power behind it, when you're crafting an RFP, if it's a space you've never crafted before, asking the kind of the co-pilot a question, or can you form some questions? You can use it as a double check to say, did I cover all my bases? Am I missing any really large, areas that I should focus on in this? When the bids come back in, using it to compare across the suppliers, because it can read everything for you. It can really wrap everything up, say, what are the major differences in these bids? It can also do some simple calculations. Healthcare, we're very complex, can't do very complex things in there yet. But there's more to come in the future. But we use it across our requesters also have access to it in every single request. If they want to see, hey, show me a list of still what is to come, it will give them a list that they can copy and paste directly into an email. I get emails frequently that someone's like, hey, I asked the little chat bot this question, and here's the response. Is this true? Or, hey, I noticed that we still have these approvals. How do I go ahead and get those approvals? So it's helped the communication with our requesters and also with our sourcing team, not having to input some of those easy items that our OCR can do. It's been great.
Wonderful. Thank you. Back to you, Rachel. Sorry, another question for you. They're talking about how many associates you have. So out of the 40,000 associates, how many actually need access to Level Path, and how come SSM puts so much into sourcing, 20 headcount, and 2 procurement? Great job. Thank you both. I like the compliment at the end. That's nice. So thank you, anonymous attendee. I appreciate it.
We have about 451 unique requesters so far, and those can change. So with an organization as large as ours, when we look at some of our major requests, we're talking about a surgeon in the OR. We will probably have that one OR manager, that one nurse manager who is really looking at that OR. And so they will put it in. And we're lucky that we are part of a GPO, so we can manage some contracts and leverage their contracts. So the fact that we only have about 20 sourcing associates, are we understaffed? It depends on who you ask. However, we are able to manage our contracts because, one, we can see all of our contracts. We're expanding our scope. We have our organization buy-in. They know why it's important to bring sourcing into the fold. We've kind of been on that roadshow of telling people sourcing is not an overnight thing. You can't just hand us a contract and say, here, sign it. There's inherent risk in that. We have to make sure that we are protecting SSM and mitigating all those risks where we can. Really trying to capture, organizational standards. Can we look at our category management and truly standardize to one product or one supplier in a product category? So working through some of that has made us be able to be a little more efficient than just taking everything one off and having everything on contract.
Perfect.
I hope that answered your question.
That's great. Next question. Is the program good for small, I'm guessing they're meaning non-for-profits, NFPs? Correct me, Megan, if I am wrong.
It's a good question. I think if you have to have closed envelope bids, I don't know how that happens. I don't know the answer to it, but I knew in our Scout product that was a challenge for some companies because of the closed bid. And so I don't know the answer, but with AI, it might make it a challenge with a closed bid. I don't know. I'd have to look into that.
Do you mind if Megan reaches out to you?
Not
Reaches
at
out to
all.
the
I'm
team?
just saying,
Okay,
I
Megan, if
don't
you
know
hear
the actual
that, reach
answer, but
out.
I know that that was a challenge if you needed
Okay.
the closed envelope. It might not be a challenge in this particular situation, but
Perfect. All right, folks, keep them rolling in. This is great. I love it. It's one after another. And Rachel, you've already mentioned, I think, this answer quite a bit, but I'm going to ask it anyways. I'm doing my due diligence here as a moderator. What made SSM choose Level Path over other vendors? So this is your time to sell it.
So for us, it could change as we really progressed as an organization. So having a customizable flow at the top of our request and having the ability to have that change by request type. A request for a quote for a medical piece of medical equipment that's going to go through a capital process looks vastly different than someone needing to engage us for some sort of sourcing event. So being able to really modify the flow at the top so that folks understood what went into the background of procurement was great. It also was, it can change. So it can modify as we look across. Not every single request we get is going to follow those steps perfectly. We will have to change and configure, and being able to answer some upfront questions to determine the path that it needs to go is great. And also, you have to pull in so many different folks now and so many different people across the organization and different teams, whether it's from legal or finance or IT. Almost everything's connected to our network now. So we have to look at InfoSec, we have to look at a technical assessment. Being able to pull all those folks into one spot and the ability to even look outside of Level Path. So whether like RTAs are not done in Level Path, they are done in ServiceNow. That's fantastic. We can put that directly into Level Path. Say, go put it into ServiceNow, but it's still part of the overall process. So, and then the Pathfinder functionality. So part of Level Path is really requester focused. And instead of just saying, here, submit a request, it takes you down a path. What are you looking for? What are you looking to do? And for us, that was important. We want to get folks to the right information quickly and efficiently without being bounced around to a bunch of places. So some of our endpoints don't end you in a request form. It's actually going to tell you, well, you need to go talk to the IT department, or this is not a request that sourcing takes. This is an IT request. Here's how to get there. Or maybe you need to get into Workday because it's an HR request. So here's how to do it. So just making requesters' lives easier, it really leads to less frustration because they don't have to submit a request, have us look at it and say, wrong request platform, go submit it somewhere else. We'll just guide them there because we're all one organization at the end of the day. And we are blessed to serve the communities that we're in. So we want to make sure that we do work as that team.
Perfect. Great.
And what I would add, and it kind of lays in on what Rachel was saying, is that because you can modify the workflows for everything, like anything, you can just spin it up for anything, and it doesn't matter. You can also have things go out to multiple sources at one time. So if you need like a legal review, a security review, a risk review, all those reviews can go to those people at the same time, and then their area gets checked or not checked, but it doesn't, you don't have a workflow that's A, B, C, D. It can span up and then close back down again, depending on how you build it, because it works on how you work, not how someone wants to force you to work.
Wonderful. Thank you. Boy, they're still coming in. How do you measure success or ROI? Seems like cost savings and cycle time. Anything on cost savings, error rates, risk compliance, etc. Thank you so much.
We are
Sorry,
still in that.
sorry, Rachel, to keep throwing them at you. One
That's
after, I'm
okay.
not giving you a break, am I?
So we're still working on some of those like ROIs, right? So we implemented back in October. So we are 6 months in. I'm so still working on looking at what that looks like. And just the fact that we really changed how our requesters come in and going from one type of request form to 7 types of request forms to change with that process. Some of those cycle times we're still building. For us, customer satisfaction, I've reached out to some of our customers and really some of those requesters and said, hey, now that we've been here, how is it going? You have put in 20 requests. Has it been easy? Has it not been easy? Are there any points of confusion? So kind of going back and reworking with those requesters and just hearing them. Maybe I worded something that made sense in my mind, but not to the masses. So making sure that we can look through and say, great, we did make a mistake. Let's go back and change it so that we can move forward and change as an organization. Cost savings, our incumbent solution was more expensive. So there was an immediate cost savings for us, which we loved.
That's nice.
And we always tracked our savings for our contracts so that we were able to translate back into Level Path. So we didn't lose any functionality. We're still tracking everything that we were. Risk and compliance, we've actually seen, hey, I didn't think I needed a TA, but based on some of the preliminary questions I asked, it looks like I need a TA. So I need to go engage the TA team. They may say, nope, you really don't need one, but we have that engagement now working with some of those teams where folks may just not have known to go work with those teams. So really just having that visibility has increased significantly for us.
And I would add, not in SSM Health case, but in some of our other customers, they're seeing I have an easier view of contract overlap. So I know that's always a challenge, but with the AI, it really can hone in on that quite a bit and then see where the differences are. So we're seeing cycle times, and we're also seeing risk. So now that more people are in the system, and again, as a contract management solution as well, you have IT going in there and looking at the intricacies, security going in there and looking at the intricacies on certain contracts and what that means to that type of organization. And everyone has that availability and access. So if something happened, like let's say you were using a software solution and then something happened, you can go right in and see what the SLAs are, right? But the procurement doesn't have to bring up a contract. Legal doesn't have to bring up a contract. Like the access is there for those owners to self-serve and use an AI system that really allows them to pull that information super quickly. So it's not a cumbersome view. So the ROI in every area is there. It's just, it's as you start to use it over time. And sometimes immediately too, like when you have the overlapping contracts and the auto renewals. We had some customers really see the net difference of these auto renewals with certain companies and really trying to figure out how that worked. Or you have changes in your enterprise who are owners, and then maybe the owner that started that project a year ago is no longer there. And so it's easier overall to have your hands on it.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. All right, team, we got about 5 more minutes to go through these questions. So keep pushing them out at us. I love it. And just as a reminder to everyone on the team, Level Path will be speaking at the summit. We just got their session on our website. So if anybody on the webinar is going to our spring summit, they will be there. So hopefully you'll see them live in action, driving business growth through AI and innovation. I just got the alert, like as Michaela was just answering that question. So very fresh.
Yeah,
all right,
we're
next
excited.
question.
What was that, Hardware will be speaking there, so that will be fun.
Ace Hardware?
Yeah.
Is it the same guy that spoke on our last webinar, right?
Froz, yeah.
Oh, everyone has to come. He was wonderful. I love that.
He's been in some of the
I didn't realize
Ace
it was the same
commercials.
one.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that. Okay. Next question. Could you walk us through the phased rollout for your procurement transformation? How did you design the process to minimize the disruption across the organization?
That's a big
Yeah,
question.
so
Yeah.
it is a big question. I honestly I really partnered with Level Path. So they really were my team helping me to implement this. Um, so really took all of the work and try to make kind of logical buckets. So number one, up and running. I had a deadline I had to hit. There was no question about it. My incumbent solution was going away. So I had to really take a look at that timeline and say, I need a little bit of runway to make sure that the requesters, that it goes smooth. So really backed up my timeline based on my solution disappearing. So really focus on that requesters for that really phase up and running. And then took a look at all of the current, level path functionality that we may not have had, and said what's important to our sourcing team, whether it is pulling in external teams. So making placeholders in our overall process of, we know we need to pull those external teams in and we're doing it. It's just not very visible to our requesters. So making sure that we had that flow that made sense, that showed people that procurement is more than just signing a contract, that there's risk in it that we need to mitigate. There's pricing strategies that we need to enact. So really trying to bucket those. So getting it up and running was really first and foremost of, does it have the basic functionality that I need? Yes, great. Now let's take a look at some of those lower priority to say pulling those external teams in. That was a big selling point to our organization. Historically, healthcare has been like 20 years behind and just about everything. So trying to push us up kind of in that view, utilizing their AI. Can we pull other teams in? What does that look like? Do we need to review other processes? It actually worked really well with some of the other focuses we had going on in the organization. So that was a really obvious, number two for us. Number three is our data cleanup. There's some data that we were able to clean up really quickly. The AI has been great. Level Path has been great in saying, hey, we can now clean this up for you or help with this. Going through and knowing that I have some more intricate data points that are specific to SSM that I need to go input and that the AI may not be able to do. That's really phase number three. And then phase number four is just, we're going to continue to revamp. There's great updates that come out every single week. What do those look like? Some of those may change our flow. Some of those we really need to sit down and consider because it's a functionality that no one in procurement has had before. And it's what we're looking for and how is that going to change. So really, we're still working with all of our stakeholders on a daily, if not weekly basis to say what is coming up, how is this going to impact us, how's it going to impact your team, and how can we work on this together.
Perfect. Thank you. I think we got time for one more question and then we'll have to wrap it up, guys. I apologize if I didn't get to yours. All right. How did you approach change management, which is a tough one, I know, to ensure increased stakeholder engagement and adoption across diverse departments? I know you spoke a little bit about this, but if there's anything more that you want to add to this.
Yeah, so it really was just communication. So making sure that I worked with all of the groups, whether or not we worked really closely, but they at least knew about the change. So communication over everything, sending out emails, sending out multiple emails, making sure that we had that announcement that was out that, hey, change is coming. It is inevitable, but here is what to expect. Setting those realistic expectations, not only with sourcing, but with our requesters and our leadership. I told my boss immediately, hey, all of our metrics, we're going to have to pause for about 2 months until I can see what the report structure looks like. Because I had a bunch of pivot tables, I had macros already built. That is going to take me time to actually go and revamp. So just being very upfront, not trying to sugarcoat it, not trying to be like, I will get to everything, knowing I couldn't get to everything. It wasn't realistic. So making sure that I was upfront and honest from the beginning of, this is what it is going to look like, and allowing myself to have some sort of fallback of, hey, I told you this was going to take 4 weeks. It actually only took 3 because I knew that we may have had a slip up, or if we hit a snag, hey, we've unfortunately hit a snag. It's delayed us. Just being upfront and honest about why it happened and trying to get to the root cause and making sure that we have fixed that root cause. It should never happen again.
Perfect. All right. I know we just have a minute, 2 minutes at the top of the hour. Is there any closing remarks that either one of you would like to say?
Well, I'd just like to thank everyone for coming today and for all your questions. It's been great. And Rachel, thank you for joining us. It's just an honor to be working with you, but also to take your time out today was just fabulous. So thank you.
It was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you to the attendees, to both of you. And if you like this webinar, Level Path, I think you have another webinar in April, mid-April. So check out the webinar page. And I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of the week. We always get questions. Will you get follow-up information? You will. Keep an eye out for your inbox. I think it's the recording and follow-up email tomorrow. Everyone's saying thank you. Oh, in the comments, you're welcome. If I say it, you're welcome. Everyone have a great day, and we'll see you on the next webinar program.
Cheers.
Bye.
Thank you.